In today's show, I'm joined by Adam King. We're going to answer your questions live on this Mailbag show. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com. And you can find me on Twitter as always at redrock_Beeble, on TikTok at redrock_Beeble, on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball, and on Substack at joshloyd48.substack.com. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline is where the game starts. All right, thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free and we're available on all platforms, and we're here to answer questions. I'm joined by the one and only Adam King. Kingy, welcome.
Morning. I'm just flicking through some of the news from overnight. We've got some players out, players sick.
We do. We definitely do have some players out and some players sick. So both of those are in Atlanta. I'm sure you guys will have questions about that. The number one question in the chat was, what color shirt am I going to wear today? And it is a light blue with a little Vincent Van Gogh logo right there. So there you go. There's the answer to the number one question of the day. Let's just go with it. Orestes Kusunis says Dejounte Murray's out for 2 weeks. Yes, he is. Is AJ Griffin a must roster? King, I would have said that he was already. But let's just turn this question into what's the situation here? We've got Collins out. We've got Hunter out. Now I've got Dejounte out for 2 weeks. What's the waiver priorities you're looking at there?
Griffin should have been rostered everywhere anyway. I know I've got him in quite a few spots now. I think based on yesterday, I think it was Aaron Holiday that sort of got the minutes, but I don't want to add Aaron Holiday.
It was Aaron Holiday, but Aaron Holiday was out of the rotation, and Trent Forrest was ahead of him, but Forrest was dealing with a concussion. So I don't know whether Forrest had played 13 minutes and Holiday had been DMP'd in all of those, and then Forrest got a concussion. So don't know if they go back to Forrest over Holiday. That's why. And Holiday, you're right, he's terrible. There's very little value. I think he might pop off for a game just through usage, but it might be it'd be worse than like a Tyus Jones type of stream, I think.
Yeah, I'd much prefer Forrest, so hopefully he can get back and maybe you give him a look. Bogdanovic, but he's probably still on that minutes cap, so they're not going to, they're not going to sort of move that up. I wouldn't think based on this. So probably Forrest if he plays. But otherwise, it's just other guys that are going to get more touches, I think.
Yeah, it'll be Holiday times 2. It might be Forrest. Remember that Dejounte Murray's not really their point guard. Like, he does play backup point guard minutes. So just because he's listed as a point guard and Aaron Holiday is 2 doesn't mean that Aaron Holiday plays 32 minutes. Like, Aaron Holiday next to Trae Young is actually a horrific combination of starters there. So it could be Jarrett Culver that starts instead, like more of a defensive-minded wing who obviously can't shoot, but has put in some decent minutes. Maybe it is Bogdanovic. Maybe it is Justin Holiday versus Aaron Holiday in there. We don't have to replace Dejounte Murray straight with a point guard because he was the only point guard minutes he was playing was the 12 or so minutes when Trae Young was off the court. So that's not necessarily a requirement for a straight point guard just to replace Dejounte Murray, because I think even my head initially goes, it's just Aaron Holiday. But it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. But now they're just dealing with so many rotation injuries. And, of course, Trae Young missed practice today with illness, Kingy.
He did. And as you alluded to prior to jumping on, whether he's actually ill or just sick of what's going on in Atlanta, who knows? But, if he's out, then God, maybe it is Aaron Holiday.
Well, it might have to be in that case.
There's no one else, so... I guess I have to wait and see. They don't play today. I'm assuming they probably play tomorrow.
Yeah, they play next on Friday against the Nets and then Sunday against the Bulls. All right, Brian Chen. Does Walker Kessler eventually take Jared Vanderbilt-Bar's starting position? Adam King.
I would like that. But I think yesterday was I think they said it was just sort of a matchup kind of thing with Markkinen out. It was more let's get some size in there, and so I don't think this is a permanent thing. But the fact that they're more than happy to move Vanderbilt to the bench, and he's only playing 20, 22, 23 minutes most nights. He did have a better game, I think, the previous game to that. So
2 games ago.
Yeah, look, I would. I mean, it makes sense to get him out there, but I wouldn't say they're going to do it just yet, especially considering they're winning.
Would you grab him in all 12-team leagues if you could?
Oh, look, I think if you've got a roster spot, I wouldn't just grab him and drop someone for the sake of dropping them. I'd have to have someone that I'm okay with dropping it and just grab him and see. I mean, he's doing stuff even in limited minutes. He's getting blocks, he's getting rebounds. He's one of those luxury stash guys that you sort of talk about who can still at least give you some back end value even in 17 minutes. So yeah, maybe take a flyer if you've got a spot.
Look, he's gone in all of my leagues, and the 1 or 2 that he wasn't gone in, I grabbed him in. He's played 22, 25, 17, and 24 minutes the last 4 games. Of course, the 5th game before that, he played 5 minutes, so that just throws a spanner into that. But like you said, the fact that they were happy to bench Vanderbilt for balance means that they don't value Vanderbilt that highly. They didn't say, all right, we need to bench, I don't even know who else, Kelly Olynyk for balance. We don't need to bench Jordan Clarkson for balance. They were like, no problem benching Jared Vanderbilt. And if Kessler plays 22 off the bench or 23 as a starter, it doesn't actually matter. He's going to get 2 or 3 blocks. He's one of the best shot blockers per minute in the NBA. Great field goals, great rebounds. We knew that about him. We just needed 20 plus to get there, and he's there. I think if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And that's the possibility with all these things. But it's one of those ones where the upside on a Kingy is too great, I think, to leave there and go, oh, let me just wait. Let's have 3 more games. Let's have 2 more weeks. Like, there are some of those where I go, all right, fine. Like, someone asked me off topic here, hey, should we add Josh Okogie? Like, no. Like, I'm not interested in that unless somehow he does develop a 26-minute-a-night role and keeps shooting like this and does it over a period of time. Then I'll go, I believe it, right? Because I just don't believe it. But if I miss out on it and it is actually real and Josh Okogie is actually good now, then I'll go, oh, well, I made a mistake, but I think the thought process was right on that. Whereas for Kessler, I go, I'll grab it now, and then if he goes back and plays 12 minutes, oh, well, like I'll deal with it. I just think that there is a difference in those ads, even though both guys have produced in their last game. I think the approach to both those types of players in comparison to, like, not those names in particular, but those types of guys, I think you've got to have different approaches to it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think, look, in my mind, I think, well, Vanderbilt, Kessler, if they're both playing 24 minutes, who would I rather? I think the answer is Kessler.
Yep, I agree with this. All right. Norm says, why is the schedule so weird this season? It's always one full day team and next day it's 2 to 3 players. Was it always been like this? Yes, literally always the same. Wednesday and Friday, always big volume days. Tuesday and Thursday, low volume. Monday, Saturday, Sunday, sort of in between. It's always been the same, and it always annoys me. Okay. Chapaz says, should we think about rostering Quentin Grimes in competitive 12-team leagues? Kingy.
Oh, I'm not. I think you could maybe make an argument that yes, but I'm just. It seems to both he and Quickly, they seem to alternate good games. Minutes are up and down a bit. So I'm not personally, but I mean, I think there's a case to be made for maybe, but I'm not.
Yeah, I agree. I think there is a case to be made for maybe. I think he's a clear 14-team league ad. I think if you wanted to take a crack in a 12, no worries. But like, you're going to have these games where he scores 20-plus points and it comes on 70% shooting. And then if he shoots normal percentages, he'll have 4 points. So the minutes are locked in, and we love that. We love 35 minutes a night. The last game was really, really good. But I don't think there's the consistency there for him to be a must-roster 12-team league player. Absolutely, in anything deeper, go for it. It would depend on who I would drop in terms of a 12-team to take that chance. But again, when I look at the comparison back to Kessler's really good on a per-minute basis, whereas Grimes is not. He needs so many minutes and so many things to actually go right for him to provide that value. That one thing ticks down, and instead of playing 37 minutes, he plays 29. Or instead of shooting 60%, he shoots 48 or something, then there's nothing there. Like, it's just not going to add up to enough. And yeah, that would change if Barrett got out or if Randall was out. because then he wouldn't be the fourth offensive option and he would get an opportunity for more shots. But as of now, there'll be the random game that happens, but every other game he stands in the corner and like just tickles his own balls. Like he doesn't do a huge amount out there. And that makes it really hard for me to look at him as must roster. He's clearly on the radar and he's playing well, but I don't think I'm not ready to push him into a 12-team discussion at this point.
No, and he was good yesterday, but he shot
was
like 70% or something. That's not going to happen. He got 2 blocks. That's not going to happen. And McBride seems to be getting minutes, which is nice.
Yeah, McBride, that's one for deeper leagues. He's replaced Derrick Rose in the rotation. Guys, I'm going to tell you that today's episode is brought to you by Masterclass. We're all looking for lifelong education. We're looking to better ourselves. And there's no better way to do that than going to masterclass.com and seeing all of the world's best artists, icons, and leaders anywhere, anytime, and at your own pace. You can learn so many different things. Songwriting from John Legend, improving your singing skills from Mariah Carey. There's over 180 classes from a range of world-class instructors. That thing that you've always wanted to do is closer than you think. Now, I know Kingy told me off air that he's been working on his Mariah Carey-like high notes. He's not quite there, but maybe a masterclass will push him over the edge and bring us into that, sweet, sweet fantasy that he hits, that real high note. And I'm confident that you can do it, Kingy. So, you reckon you can hit a high note like Mariah?
You're more confident than me.
I highly recommend that you and Kingy check this out. This holidays, give the perfect gift of an annual Masterclass membership and get one free. Go to masterclass.com/lockedon today. That's masterclass.com/lockedon. Terms, only terms, not conditions. Terms apply. Today's episode is also brought to you by LinkedIn. If you're hiring, every hire, it can be not quite make or break, but pretty close to it. Because if you make a mistake in hiring someone, it sets your company so far back. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. Go to LinkedIn Jobs, create that job, and then go to your LinkedIn profile and put in the purple hashtag hiring frame, and that lets people in your network know that you are hiring. Go in there with the screening questions. That helps you get to the bottom of the list of people that you need to see with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number 1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnba. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnba to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Okay. Question time again for us. Adam, let's get to the next one. Oh, here's an easy one from John Smith. The biggest layup question you'll get. Will Lamelo Ball play this season?
Yeah, he will.
Yeah, he will.
Well, I really hope he does.
If he doesn't, then it's going to be one of the biggest shocks of all time. People are panic. People love a panic about a shutdown. I'm getting questions already. Man, what do I do? Do I trade away LeBron because he's going to get shut down? LaMelo's not going to play, so I'm just going to dump him. Guys, we just need to settle down, I think, a little bit with some of this stuff. All right, here's a question that is interesting. Diego Cordero says, I have Killian Hayes already. Good work. Says, should I drop Jaden Ivey for Andrew Nembhard? Now, this question, I think, ignore the Killian Hayes part because I honestly don't care. That doesn't mean anything with Jaden Ivey. The Ivey situation's what's more interesting because, Kingy, when we looked at him in the preseason, his Purdue stats didn't translate particularly well to NBA. Low assists, low steals, poor percentages, field goal and free throws. And that's not the makings of a good fantasy player. And it's basically translated exactly the same. Yes, he's fast. Yes, he's getting good minutes and good usage. But he's not a good category league fantasy player. He's a good points league guy, and I think he's a must roster there. I'm not sure, and I know there's a lot of caveats behind it. I'm not sure he's a 12-team must roster guy. What's your view on him?
Yeah, I'm souring on him a little bit. I think, as you said, take that Killian Hayes part away, and who would you rather have, Ivy or Nembhard? I think it's Nembhard for me. His role is pretty secure.
And their minutes are the same, basically.
Yep. They've got Pacers have got Duarte to come back, but
he's bad.
Nembhard, I think he's already better than him. So, look, I would. Yes, the answer is yes. And is Ivy a must roster? Well, I don't know, fringy, I guess, at best, but I don't have him in any leagues, and I'm not worried about that.
I don't think I do either. But what he is a must consider to me. Okay, you have him and you hold him and then you think about it, but what he's producing isn't good. It's not good. There's so many deficits in his game. and he's one of those guys that will have an 18-point game, but will come on 18 shots, and you don't see the peripheral stats there. And while we do anticipate, and I know there's a common misconception, and I talked about this on yesterday's show, that big men take the longest to develop. It's not true. It's guards that take the longest to develop, and they struggle so much early on in their career. He might put up top 75 numbers in March, but can you deal with top 200 numbers for the next 3 months? And only you can answer that. Like, I can't tell you how your team's currently going. Are you sitting like at the top of the table? Then hold on, and maybe you get a good player later on. But it's also like we held on with Anthony Edwards. We held on with Trae Young when he struggled. We held on with Jalen Green when he struggled. And they paid it off. Young earlier than Edwards and Green, but the second half of the season for those other two guys was really good. But Ivy's nowhere near that level of prospect. Like, he's not. This class, he was picked 5th, but this class is nowhere near as good as those other classes. So he's not that level of prospect that we go, well, I wait for this stuff to come because I know how good he is. Like, in a draft such as last year's, Ivy might have gone at pick 9. Like, Ivy didn't declare for last year's draft because he wasn't good enough to go early in the draft. Like, that's sort of where it sits. So I have the faith in those really high guys. That's why I had faith in Jabari Smith as a really high pick this season. Hey, he'll turn it around. I know the value's there. But after it drops down, like with Ivy and Murray and even Mathurin, like, they're not the same level of prospect in my mind, and those deficiencies in their game make it harder for me to have faith that that'll come around at in a time frame that suits whatever my team is looking for.
Yeah, and I mean, even just the numbers, he's outside the top 200 this season and almost top 3, barely top 300 over the last week. So,
seen this question a couple of times. Let's do it. Ken Wu, is Rubio a stash? No. What do you think?
No, I don't think so.
Look, he's not going to be back this month. He might not be back next month. I know he's starting maybe to do some 5-on-5s, but he's a 33-year-old man who tore his ACL in January. That's a 12-month return, if not 13-month, for a player that age. Or if you're Jonathan Isaac, it's a 30-month return. They are flying. They don't need him. When he comes back, he'll be a bench guard playing limited minutes and missing back-to-backs. The appeal there is like so small. Yes, there'll be nights where, he had 6 assists and 2 steals in 20 minutes. That's really good. And that'll be a one-off thing. There's absolutely no point in holding him now. Like, even if he was fully healthy at the start of the year, I wouldn't have said he would have been a 12-team draftable player playing 18 minutes behind Garland and Mitchell. I wouldn't have thought anyway. Yeah, last year I know he played pretty well with good minutes, but Sexton's not as good as Mitchell, and Sexton got hurt. And I don't see it. Anyway, let's get to another question here. Wow, this is... Okay, Michael Liu, we can transition this into another question. Is Ball still must add? He's up for waiver claim, my league. Why the hell is he on your waivers? Now, in everything I've been saying about Ball, it's my expectation that he's going to drop off when a bunch of their rotation players return. He was really good yesterday, but he'd sort of fallen away there. He shouldn't be on any waiver wire, Kingy.
No, I mean, as you said, his role at some point, you think he's going to scale back a bit when they get healthy, but who knows when that's going to happen. So, if he's on a waiver, I'd go and get him.
Rokas Ulis, do you actively avoid having 2 players with the same team? I have Kyrie and KD, and I see that 2-game weeks are incoming.
I don't.
No.
I mean, I probably wouldn't want to have like 4 players on the same team, but I've got, I would say on most of my teams, I've got 2 players from one team.
I literally pay no attention to what team these guys are on. Like, yes, you can focus in a little bit more when you come fantasy playoff time. But I don't look at it and go, man, I can't have these 2 guys here on the same team because you're just costing yourself actual production. Yes, there might be a week where the Nets play 2 games, and that hurts you when your top 3 guys are out or playing only 2 games in that one week, and that might just be an L of a week. What that means is they play more games in the other weeks. So it really boosts you. So if that 2-game week happens in the playoffs, then that's pretty bad. Right, that's not ideal to have that situation, but you can make moves to get away from that. But if it's a random week 10 matchup, I don't think you should honestly care at all about that. Like, I wouldn't waste any brain power thinking about ways to adjust that or anything along those lines. Kingy, I've got one more thing we've got to tell people, and that is that today's show is brought to you by betonline.net. Betonline.net is the number 1 source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for all professional and amateur leagues out there: football, basketball, soccer, the World Cup, esports. They've got it all at betonline.net. Who do you think should be favourite, Kingy, to win the World Cup?
I wouldn't even know who's in the final or anything. I know Australia are out, but I don't watch soccer. So
wow, Adam King just denigrating the world game. For my money, it's Brazil. But we will see how that goes. You can check all those odds out over at worldcup.com. Not worldcup.com. That's not who we're advertising. It's betonline.net. The fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline is where the game starts. Kingy, just the unnecessary shade at the World game there. Wow, didn't see that coming.
The games are on late at night. I've got other things like sleeping to do.
Yeah, the timing is not good for these final matches at all. It's like first game's at 2 a.m. and the next one's at 6. It's a bit of an L to have those games at that point. All right, Brian Chen, is Poku leaning towards a drop?
I dropped him.
Thank you. I think I did too. It's really hard with the minutes inconsistency. We know if he plays 27, he'll be good enough. But when's the last time he hit it? Like, we're seeing Jalen Williams and Jeremiah Robinson all get prioritized. Even if Poku starts, Williams plays more than him off the bench, and then there's Wiggins and actually basically back out of the rotation, weirdly enough, as old mate Eugene Omarui has stepped in the last game. It's really hard to hold Poku at this point, unfortunately.
He's a good fantasy guy, but as we've touched on, the Thunder are trying to win games, and Poku doesn't help you win games.
Sometimes he does, and when he doesn't, they just sit him down.
Occasionally, but he's often a team sort of maybe not a team low, but he's a minus 12 in a game they win by 2 or something like that.
I see some wild takes on. I know I have opinions on coaches. I see some wild takes. Man, the Thunder coach, he needs to get fired. What he's doing to Poku is killing me. Like that. That's like the most insane like fantasy criticism based on your fantasy team. Like, how's he doing this? What's he jerking them around for? Yeah, he's trying to win games and he's succeeding. There's nothing wrong with doing that, right? That is not a poor coaching decision. He has got a bunch of guys who he doesn't know whether are future NBA rotation players, and I agree with him on basically all of those ones. Maybe the Giddey stuff I'm a little bit critical, but he's trying to win games, which people have been complaining about the Thunder for the last 2 years. People complain about that. But then I've also seen, King, that people have this huge fantasy slant on things. I've seen a lot of people complaining about your mate, Dwayne Casey. Man, this guy needs to get fired. How dare he not play Marvin Bagley? That's the only thing I've ever agreed with Dwayne Casey on in my life. Like that he's gone, this guy's trash. I need to sit him on the bench. But man, fire Casey. He's killing us. Man, we need a new coach in there so they'll play Bagley 30 minutes so he can show us what he can do. Like, I don't know what game you guys are watching. Like, me and Dwayne Casey, we're so tight on that decision. We're thick as thieves when talking about Marvin Bagley. Anyway, Embra says, is Sadiq Bey going to stay consistent?
His minutes have gone down. So I think, the last couple of games have been all right. Like, he scored well in limited minutes, but you take those shots away and he's not offering much else. So, yeah, I think I've got him in maybe one league, but all I really need from him is points and threes. So I'm just holding on to him. But
yeah, I think he's a drop, but the minutes are all over the place because in the last few games, their starters are getting killed. Bogdanovic got ejected last game. There's always something that's enabling him to play a little bit more. But if they play all their starters, 30 minutes, like 32 to Bogdanovic, 31 for Hayes and Ivy and Stewart, and then if Bagley gets 29, then he just won't get 26 minutes. Like he'll play 23 minutes. And we saw it 3 games ago. He played 18 and 17 minutes in those 2 games. And then weird stuff happened and guys got benched and his minutes pushed back up. So to answer the question, will he be consistent? No, he won't be. He's never been consistent in his career. And he's a very empty player in terms of what you said. It's points and threes. And when that sort of waxes and wanes, I think he's very much just a fringe guy. Billy says, do I see Nance getting more minutes or are they paying Jonas too much to let him be the backup? I don't think they care about paying him. We've seen that all season, Billy, that they will sit Jonas Valanciunas without any problem in the world. And yes, they'll still continue to start him. But in games that are close, Nance plays more than Valanciunas. Now, they played together last game, which was something we hadn't really seen, I guess, because Ingram and Jones were out. But I don't think that you need to read into that money and go, well, this is what's happening. Look at how much Evan Fournier is getting paid to sit down and do nothing. Like, yes, there might be something in that at times, but in general, that's an overblown phenomenon, I think.
Yeah, no, they're on top of the West now, I think. So they're going to keep doing what they're doing, and then they've shown that they're more than happy to bench Jonas if he doesn't fit the matchup. It's been a little bit tricky to get a really good read on it because they have been winning quite comfortably. Yesterday was close, and Nance played 29 minutes. So,
all right, Rokas says, last video you said that Kawhi can reach top 35 game to game. Why are you so sure about his upside? Because I've seen Kawhi Leonard play for 10 years in the NBA, and I'm pretty confident that a top 5 per game fantasy player or top 10 for multiple seasons, that there is going to be a period where in 2 to 3 weeks' time, that when we hit maybe February or January, that top 35 is not a ridiculously high bar for him to get to on a per game basis. This is Kawhi Leonard. Like, he doesn't look great at the moment. He's still shaking off rust. But he played 30 minutes in yesterday's game. He had a game winner 2 games ago. Like, for me, if I had said I think he's going to be top 10 per game rest of the season, then I get the skepticism. But I don't think top 35 is a high bar to reach for Kawhi Leonard.
No, I don't think so. No, and as you said, he played 28 minutes, then 30 minutes. Yeah. So he's not quite back. You want him at sort of 30, 33, 34, I guess. But
it's not going to take long.
I'll take 30 minutes of Kawhi Leonard any day.
Yeah, and he's not back. The shooting is not quite there. No. Like it's not there. But what I think, I don't remember exactly what I said yesterday, but it was something like when we hit to the second half of the year, January, February, like he should be returning top 35 at least per game value. I feel pretty confident that he gets there, unless there is a setback, which of course could happen. There's already been 1 or 2 this season, but yeah, like he's a really good player. Ryan Horrell-Bakey, I apologize if I mispronounce that. It's the Pirtle injury, which is now week to week. The first sign on the wall for Spurs go full-on tanking for Wembanyama. The Spurs have been tanking, I think, basically since they started off hot. They're the only team that is making questionable injury decisions in my mind, and I hope for that reason they don't win the number 1 overall pick. They've got a 14% chance of doing that, and I hope they don't win it, because they are the only team that I question a lot of what's happening on their injury report, Kingy.
Yeah, no, I think. Obviously, it's in the back of their mind. Well, maybe the front of their minds, but it's as you said, a lot of these other teams that we thought were going to tank and go after Wembanyama clearly aren't doing that. They're the only team. Although, even if Pirtle was to come back and play, I don't think it's going to make them win games.
Oh, yeah, they're not good.
No, look, I don't know. I saw there was a photo I saw on Twitter yesterday of 2 fans with Spurs jerseys on, and one said tank, one said Wembanyama.
I saw that too.
So the fans are up for it, but as you said, I don't like teams getting the number 1 pick that way.
Bajinder Singh says, is there more upside in stashing Tari Eason or Jonathan Isaac? To me, I just don't trust Isaac at all. I get we've seen him produce at an NBA level, and that was back before electricity, basically. But like, this guy is going to sit a lot of games. He's going to have restrictions, and he's not going to start. So I don't, unless there is an injury, I don't see a starting position for John Isaac ahead of Wagner or Carter or Banchero, or honestly even Ball at this point. I don't really see maybe he gets there. Eason, it's pretty clear. Like, see you later, Eric Gordon, and then you can start. And Eric Gordon's not anywhere a part of that future, although Stephen Silas seems to think he is. So do you have a different opinion on that? Like, where do you sit with Jonathan Isaac just in general?
Look, much the same, I guess. We know his per game upside is it can be quite high, but I think I saw that he's played 2 games in over 1,000 days. So we talk about rust with someone like Kawhi Leonard. What's the rust going to be like for Jonathan Isaac? Like, it could take him 4 years to get back, but that's if he ever comes back. We're seeing sort of, if you read the tea leaves, we're seeing bits and pieces about he's getting close, he's working out, but until I actually see him back on the court, I'm not going to believe it.
Yeah, exactly. Look, he's still not back. And we heard this last season. Remember when he was like, I'm going to be back at Thanksgiving? That was last season. And then it was like, maybe Christmas. And cool, we're still not there. Apad Trends says, if Victor Oladipo is off minutes restriction, who loses value most amongst the rotation, even on a healthy team? I'll let you have that one.
Yeah, I know he's back. God, I haven't got him on any teams either. Look, it's probably... even if he's off his minutes restriction, I still don't think they're going to play him. Like, I just don't think he's good enough for them to play him sort of 34 minutes or anything like that. He's not one of their main guys. So I don't think it has a massive impact on anyone that actually matters.
All right, here's a question for you. Is he a better player than Kyle Lowry?
No.
Is he a better player than Tyler Hero?
No.
Is he a better player than Max Strus?
Maybe, but Strus, they need Strus's shooting. So
Is he a better player than Gabe Vincent?
maybe not.
There you go. Well,
Gabe Vincent has his knee thing going on, though.
He does. That's their guard rotation, though. So, he's not pushing ahead to start ahead of Lowry or Hero or Butler. Butler won't play the 4 full time, so that means, is he better than Caleb Martin? I'm not even sure. How old's Victor Oladipo, Adam? Do you know? So I looked this up yesterday. I was pretty surprised.
No, I wouldn't know. Is he 32?
Yeah, he's about to turn 31, right?
31.
So
okay.
For a guy that's missed basically most of the last 3 seasons, he's played little bits. Like, he's not Jonathan Isaac's 25, right? So we can talk about that. Like, Oladipo's 31. So he's already on the way down. Oh, he's not 31. He'll turn 31 at the end of the regular season. So he's 30 and a half. So he's not particularly young. He doesn't have upside left ahead of him. And basically every time I've seen him play, there might be one flashy game and then there's 6 bad ones. I know a lot of people are stashing him in 12-team leagues, but it's the same sort of thing as stash him or TJ Warren. Like, I just don't think so. I just don't think it's going to have the likelihood of it returning value feels really, really low to me.
And I think we just talked about Jonathan Isaac, obviously, and his lengthy return from an injury that should only take 12 months. Oladipo has had injuries after injury after injury after injury, all related to that initial quad thing that I think he had, and then knees, and so physically he's just not able to do what he was able to do.
Yeah, that's right. I'm just trying to add something up here. All right, so he had an All-NBA season in 17-18. All right, so in 17-18, his age 25 season. So since then, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons since then. What would you say is the over? If I set the over-under at 95.5 games played, do you think he has played that many games in the last 5 years?
So what 5 seasons? That's 400 games, or we had the shortened season.
So 95. Do you think it's
quarter of the games,
more or less than 95 games over the last 5 years?
Let's go more.
Yeah, it is. It's like 98.
Yeah.
But since he has left Indiana, right? How long? It can barely remember him playing in Indiana, to be honest. He's played 42 games since leaving Indiana.
Yeah.
He played 20 in Houston, and he's played 13 games in Miami.
Yeah, it's a shame because he was really good there. I remember I think he had a top 10 season, maybe.
It was at least top 15,
Top 15, yeah. So he was really good, and then this injury has just derailed his career. I
think it was poorly handled by the Pacers as well, but that's another point. One or two more questions here, Kingy. Diego Cordero, why the Miami Heat having a horrible start to the season? Because A, they're not that good. They didn't do anything in the offseason to replace the loss of PJ Tucker, so they're playing guys out of position, and they've had a lot of injuries. Jimmy Butler's a year older, his knee's flaring up. They tried to rely upon what they had in place, and there wasn't really much internal growth to happen with those young guys, and they just made no moves to replace anybody, which is a huge failure, I think.
Yeah, I think I said this, I don't know if it was preseason or early in the season, that I wasn't that high on Miami this season. Same. And really just because a lot of the other teams got better, and they didn't.
So I think I had them 6th in the East maybe, and I was like, you're right. Yeah. Like, even if they stay the same, everyone else got better. So they're not being the number 1 seed again. Like, I'm real confident in saying that. Last one. What is happening with Fox? Apparently he's got a foot injury, and that is part of the reason that he has slumped off in this last little bit. He was never going to maintain that, but he is going to play through it, but he's dealing with a foot injury. That's why we're seeing Mike Brown sort of bring him out earlier in games. There's nothing you can really do about it, but he is a little bit of a buy low, I think, Kingy.
Yeah, a little bit, and I saw that this morning as well. It's been bothering him for a while, it sounds like. So it'd be nice to know what it is, so that you could sort of, a foot injury, it could be anything. And he says he's not going to miss time, but...
Yeah, Paul George told us he wasn't going to miss time either, and 2 weeks later he suddenly played with a hamstring injury. So yeah, I don't believe a single thing a player says, to be honest.
No, I think Chris Paul said his heel injury was nothing. Didn't he?
He probably did, yeah. Mate, just never believe him. It's like, man, I'm close to returning. All right, cool. Not your call. Yeah. Anyway, that'll do it for us, Kingy. Tell everyone where they can find the stuff that you're doing.
Look, most of it's just on Twitter at the moment. My work has ramped up, sadly, as we near the end of the year. My day job stuff, so that's taking up a lot of my time. So it's really just Twitter and the odd podcast when we can fire one out.
Go and follow Kingy over there. And of course, guys, don't forget to follow this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and on the Odyssey app. Kingy, thank you for coming on once again on YouTube. Thumb it up. Leave those comments down below, guys. We are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.